Very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We're about to start our first session for the final day. So we would request, morning ma'am, we would request everybody to be seated. So I hope we can start. Yes? Yes, can we have an answer from you? Can we start? Thank you so much. So very good morning. I hope everybody is ready to kickstart this final day. So the 2 days, it went on well. So you all had lots and lots of informations and we had lots of fun. I saw last night, it was good. So people were started dancing. So I was enjoying seeing a side. Thank you so much. I know you all enjoyed last night. But now, and again, back to the business. So we will have our first session. The first session is about resilient and responsible logistics. So the session will take over by session chairman, Mr. Shantanu Badkamkar, past chairman and advisor, Triple AI. Ladies and gentlemen, please join your hands together and welcome Mr. Shantanu onto the stage, please. Mrs. Shantanu is a custom broker and international freight forwarder, managing director ATC Group, OPM at Harvard Business School, Boston, honorary fellow of Narottam Murarji Institute of Shipping, government constituted bodies, member of Court of Indian Maritime University, director Tamil Nadu EPIC Skill Development Center for Logistics, Trade Association and Chamber, chairperson of Asocham Maharashtra State Development Council, member governing board Air Cargo Forum India, University Educational and Training Institutes, trustee the Kelkar Education Trust, member governing body, advisory council, logistics sector skill council, Symbiosis Skills and Professional University, VG Waste College, past president, chairman and board of advisor, FFAI, AMTOI, MACCIA, IFCABA, CSC, MP, RT Mumbai. Advocacy and Research, CUTS International, member M Connect PAC. Thank you so much for joining in this lovely day, sir. And now I would like to call upon all the speakers to the stage. Mr. George Abravo, Chairman Abravo Group. Ladies and gentlemen, please join your hands together and welcome Mr. George Abravo to the stage. And now we would like to welcome Mr. Hari Shashidharan, Senior Vice President, Strategic Partnerships and New Initiatives, DBS Bank. So please welcome onto the stage. Can we give a round of applause to him? And now we would like to welcome Dr. Pramod Sen, industry expert. So please welcome onto the stage. And now we welcome Dr. Sharmila Amin, Managing Director, South Asia India, Bertling Logistics India Private Limited. Please welcome ma'am. Can we give a big round of applause? She has a huge energy, I saw on the first day. Finally, we have an online virtual address by IFCBA Coral. And for the Q&A and summing up and thanks, I would like to welcome Mr. Amit Kamath, Vice Chairman, FFAI. So can we give him a round of applause and welcome him forward?
Good morning. The best highlight of this convention has been wonderful audience. Thanks for being a great audience. Even the minister admired yesterday that we had full house and there was a pin drop silence. So that's what Triple FAI is. We become big by our members. We become strong every year because of our members. And no matter we have late nights, we still start sessions on time. We should have started 5 minutes earlier, but still it's okay, we are on time. This, I dare say, would be one of the finest session because of we have very experienced, very competent panelists, and we are going to touch on issues that will help you to chart your course in the future. These are amazing people with lot of insight, lot of vision. So avoid multitasking and focus on what delegates have to say. These are 2 or 2.5 days in a year you get for brainstorming. Please don't use these 2 days like other 365 days in a year, or maybe 730 days we get for 2 years. Make them for your visioning. This session will focus on resilient and responsible supply chains, and even more on resilient and responsible logistics for resilient supply chains. The most talked about issue today is resilient supply chains and multimodal connectivity, strong logistics connections, and somehow in India we have done better than the rest of the world. And Prime Minister himself at Quad meeting spoken about importance of resilient supply chains. And that's where opportunity for freight forwarders and custom brokers. And these are opportunities in immediate future. So please pay attention. These are extremely competent panelists, handpicked. And I can tell you, we need them to speak, then they are keen. Of course, they are keen because they are well-wishers. And our first panelist is George. He is Vice President of Amtoy. Somehow I had a lengthy introduction, but I don't give lengthy introductions. George is a well-known person. He is Vice President of Amtoy. But even more, couple of qualities I want to share so that you can appreciate his content better. George's roots are in Cochin. Then he started career also in Cochin and said that I have to be in bigger waters, so he came to Mumbai. In Mumbai, he did extremely well, and now he has moved on to Dubai. And Amtoy has petitioned that he should be titled as His Royal Highness Sheikh George Abrao. And let me promise you, he will get honorary citizenship. The way he is growing in Dubai is seen to be believed. And our FFI delegates who came for the FFI event in Dubai saw what George is capable of and how gracious he is. But there is another quality of George which all of you should know. Most of us, and overwhelmingly most of us, are in asset-light or asset-free business models. And asset-free doesn't mean we have not put capital in business. We have put plenty of capital in business, which is with our customers in outstanding and receivable. There are smarter people who have invested in their assets and they control their assets, and that's how they run their business. And George is one among them. He will give you different perspectives on asset-based models. He will also share his other experience about asset-light hybrid models. And interestingly, George has switched between different business models. So George will be setting a tone for today's business sessions. And he is extremely successful, and last 2 years he has grown fabulously. It's very difficult to get his time. I can tell you, he came on 12th. went to Mumbai, came back again. That kind of lifestyle he is living. He also had to go to Singapore and Taiwan. It just, we appealed to him to do little favor and be amongst all of us who are his colleagues and customers. So we have George Abrow for you. I think you can deliver from there. Thank George and a big round of applause for him.
The time starts now. The moderator for the session, Mr. Bhatkamkar, thank you very much for a wonderful introduction that you gave. Fellow panelists, dignitaries of the dais, and the wonderful audience we have this morning. It's a very, very great subject that I've been asked to speak on. And I thought, let me start with a little poll here, just to get a feel of what the audience is. So it's going to be a show of hands, a very simple question. How many of you in this audience feel that we are in the right business? Great. So happy to hear that. But now listen very carefully. I'm going to reframe this question a little differently. How many of you thought 2 years ago when we were in the doldrums that you were in the right business? Yeah, a little less, but I'm very happy with that answer because people are being very honest. And this is exactly what I wanted to hear from you, because it is the perspective that matters. So, let me start with a little thing. I carried this from the airline. I think a lot of you would have seen this. Any idea what this is? Sandwich box. And how many of you have seen it only as a box carrying a sandwich and not anything else? So there is one Parsi gentleman here who says he has seen it something else. Another gentleman. Okay. The interesting thing, if you actually looked into this box, is that it has got some pictures here and it has got some numbers here. After you eat the sandwich, you have still another hour or hour and a half on the flight, and they expect that you utilize the time for something. And what they have done is made you feel something special. It says, congratulations, you can now play Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. And for those of you who are into music, you will realize how difficult it is to play a Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. But what it did was made you feel and think differently. You walked out of that aircraft that feeling that you could do something which you otherwise thought was not possible. So today, when I'm getting to the subject of resilience, we all know resilience is the ability to absorb shock and to survive that shock and move ahead. When you bring asset into it, and you want to club asset with resilience, What does it mean? It's all about being smart, how you have the right asset to run through your business with resilience even at the worst times. So I did not want to go into numbers, and I therefore thought the best way to get to you is probably sharing my very own life story, because that has taught me a lot of things. And more than anything else, there is a saying which goes, smart are the people who learn from their mistakes, but smarter are the people who learn from other people's mistakes. Along the way, we have made mistakes. Want to share that with you so that you take that and do not make the same mistake, and you are able to move forward much faster. I am the third generation in a family business. And we in the family have actually been very pro asset. My introduction to asset started as early as probably when I was 5 years old. And that must have been in the year of 1967. I don't want anybody to be calculating my age here. I share just to make it easy, I share the same age as that of Triple FAI. So, as a small kid, I don't know whether it is by design or not, my father used to, over the weekends, take me along when we went. Our first business, or our original business, was something called as Lightridge. Now, Lightridge is discharging cargo from ships at the anchor or outer roads, because these ships cannot come to a port. So we didn't have terminals large enough to handle these ships, and therefore we moved cargo into these terminals. We moved from that because there was a change. And therefore, what we did is we moved from lightridge of cargo, moved into stevedoring, which came to the port. And therefore, from stevedoring, we went, which was conventional, into container. And that was the first time we ever got a feel of what the future is in terms of shipping. My first foray was seeing barges built. We had a boatyard in a place of Koilon, where they used to build these huge wooden dumb barges, and that is what was used to transfer cargo. We had tugs which used to pull these barges, so there we had these assets which helped us build the business that we were doing. Moving from there, we moved to the port. The asset came from the ports and terminals, because the cranes were provided by the port. But then the asset we had changed, and that was the big shift. What was the asset that we had then? Was our people. Because we had to ensure that we had the best of train operators, the best of winch drivers, the best of supervisors, foremen. So see how from moving out from tugs and boats and barges, we had to depend on something which was completely different, people. If you had a really smart sales guy, somebody would refer, that is an asset for your company. So see how the word takes a different meaning depending on what you actually are and what you actually do. So we moved to the stevedoring, and then we realized that, bigger ports were coming, bigger terminals were coming. We need to move on. So we moved to another asset-light model, which was the agency business. Again, our asset were the people. Moving from there, we came one full circle around, got back into Lightridge. But this time, it was not bulk. We were into Lightridge of oil and gas. So what we do is, the LPG that you get at home, if it comes as butane and propane, on board the ship, we add a chemical which then gives that odor to help you realize whether it is leaking or not. So it's a big business for us, and we've been doing that successfully. But having done that, we also realized that the agency business that we are in is something which is with a short shelf life. So we had to think, and we realized that we have the asset, the biggest asset, which is the people that actually builds the agencies for these overseas principal. So we decided the next best thing to do is do what they are doing. And how do we do it? So the system that we adopted was a hybrid. We decided, rather than starting with the investment into containers, we will take containers on lease, see how the business develops over a period of time, and then start with going in for your own asset. So we've done that now for over 14 years, and that business has actually grown exponentially. And in the last 2 years, what we realized is the opportunity that came by was much more immense because we had the equipment. Thankfully for us, I look up to one of our principal, who's the 10th largest carrier in the world, and they're known for actually taking decisions well in advance because they have a very, very large planning and research team. So yesterday we had Neeraj talking about planning. And I would like to say, reiterate the importance of planning is so much that one cannot really measure it. So at the start of the pandemic, the principals, Van Hai, ordered for 50,000 containers. I said, what? I mean, here everybody is in the doldrums. You're talking about 50,000 new builds. We followed suit. We also ordered our share of containers immediately, only to later on realize there was going to be a dearth of containers. And therefore, we had to make sure that we had the boxes. But in the meantime, another big learning that came to me, sorry, Shantanu, I've just exceeded a little. Big learning that came to me was we were representing a carrier who was a feeder operator. And for every NVOCC operator, the most important ingredient is to have space on a ship. We had a principal who was an in-house principal. Unfortunately for us, why I say unfortunately is because you will learn later, they operated on a model which was asset light. They took ships on charter and operated very successful service starting from China into India. And during this COVID, we had the space that was required. But come 2021, the charter expired. We couldn't find a ship to replace the ship we had because the large carrier decided to buy all the ships that this particular ship owner had. So we were left without a ship, left without a service. We had the containers, but thankfully, we knew this was going to happen, and therefore we planned in advance and had dead freight coming in to the system. So we had a hybrid model again to make a success out of what we were doing. I hope that will give you some kind of a perspective about how you need to keep changing with time if you need to be a resilient organization. Let me just, for lack of time, let me just stop with probably the tagline which I kept seeing yesterday with Triple FAI. If you need to look at the future, you need to reshape your business by embracing change. Change is the only constant. So that you can surge ahead using technology in this digital era. So that is what I believe is the future that you would get. And yesterday, I think two things that your association brought to the table. One was the announcement of the EBL, Fiata BL that is being brought in. Shankar was very, very vocal. That is going to facilitate and turn things around for all of you, because you will have room to have your own containers and ship. More the merrier. We'd love to have more people, because what we in India need is a strong foundation where we have our own containers and our own ships to come by. Thank you very much.
Thanks, George. I think you need a 2-hour session, because switching between asset models, asset light, hybrid, asset heavy is a complex topic, and our industry seriously needs to learn asset-based models, because it brings about opportunities. George has been extremely successful, and we all have opportunity to be successful in these models. Again, he also reminded that people are big assets. That's something we should count. We say people are assets, but George actually demonstrated how he used in asset heavy model or asset light model people as big assets. We all of us know in our industry, the cost of salaries comes to 60% to 80%, and that's in well-run companies. People with challenges, the salary costs are even higher than that. He also brought about what Neeraj has been saying all the time. I think Reliance is one of the best managed, and Neeraj is amazing in his planning. And he keeps on saying, if one thing custom brokers and freight forwarders can do for us is engage with us in planning, because all Indian companies are weak in planning. So that's one area we should explore, is be strong in planning, because our business is about planning and coordination. With this, we move to the next speaker, Harish Shashidhar. He is a banker. He has extremely good insight. I had 3 interactions with him. In addition to today's interaction on disruption, what are the forces, what are the differences in today's disruptions and earlier disruption. And as a banker, he has promised us that the best question will get interest-free loan. Second thing he said, no, be serious. Second thing also, I'm telling you on a serious note, he doesn't like people to be on mobile while he's speaking, and he has a photographic memory. So those multitasking with mobile, he wouldn't consider them for funding at all. As a banker, he expects that you listen to him with complete seriousness and complete focus. So if you have compulsion to be on mobile, please move out, otherwise he will keep you on his blacklist in his photographic memory. So Harish, please go ahead, floor is yours.
If you can get the slides up, please. Yeah. Thank you, Shantanu ji. He made me a bit of a villain even before I started, but that's okay. Um, at the outset, I'd just like to say that it's an honor and privilege to be standing before you, being able to address this gathering. And in what's been, I think, a fabulously organized event so far, and I'd just like to congratulate Chairman Shinde sir and his team for doing that. I want to be able to start with a note of thank you, first of all. This is the first time I'm attending a FFAI event. And thank you because as somebody who's not, particularly part of the logistics industry, over the last 2 years, for the most part, we've been cooped up at home. And every time we placed that order on an e-commerce app or any other app, stuff magically landed up at home. And behind the scenes, you guys have made it possible. So it's a 24/7 job, and we completely appreciate that. And for all that work, thank you. So what I thought I'd do today is to offer a few thoughts, on the financial implication of supply chain disruption. And I also want to touch upon a few use cases which I think are quite relevant in this time, some emerging use cases, which kind of are representative of the financing models in this emerging digital age. But before I do that, let me start off with a quick, question, if you would. I know a lot of you are stalwarts in the industry, and a lot of this is something that you already are aware of. But indulge me here. This is according to a McKinsey Global Institute study. And if you have to hazard a guess of how frequently companies can expect supply chain disruptions lasting a month or more, what do you think that number is, right? Any guesses in terms of number of years? Anybody? Okay, so that number is 3.7 years. Of course, I guess with what we've seen in the last year or so, that number is only going down. Similarly, in terms of yearly profits over a decade that companies can potentially lose, based on this empirical study, that number is close to about 45-50%. And lastly, just basis, disruptions in the last few years that I've seen, global exports are approximately 16 to 26% of global exports are expected to shift to other countries, both because of economic and non-economic reasons. So the point I'm just trying to make is that disruptions, therefore, are becoming extremely frequent and costly, and you guys know this better than anyone else. And with that, risk vectors are changing. Right? Gone are the times when we just had to worry about the Fukushimas and the Iceland volcanic eruptions. What we've seen in the past couple of months and years has been geopolitics playing an increasing role, starting with the US-China trade war and more recently the US-Taiwan tensions. And that's going to be playing an increasing part. But what is also interesting, if you look at the bottom picture on the bottom right there, I'm not sure how many of you were tracking this piece of news. This was with regard to the NotPetya ransomware attack that happened in Ukraine in 2017, June 27, 2017. And why this is topical is because one of the biggest impacted companies was Maersk Line. And the official sort of number was about $300 million which they lost. And this was originated through a tax filing software, attack on a tax filing software by allegedly a state-led actor of a neighboring country. And within minutes, 60 countries at least were impacted. Maersk themselves lost about 50,000 servers, 50,000 machines to this attack. And globally, the impact that was pegged was 10 billion, just with this single attack. So with these disruptions and new threat vectors, what companies are doing in response, and I want to be able to give you a financial angle to this. One is, of course, strengthening critical supplier relationships and the realization that suppliers, both tier 1 and deep tier, their financial health is increasingly impacting one's own viability. For example, Apple's $450 million investment in Corning just to secure glass sheets for their iPhones is one such case in point. More recently, Volkswagen invested into 2 joint ventures with Chinese companies to be able to secure their battery raw materials, like nickel and cobalt and so on. Also, companies are increasingly realizing that it's not just enough to optimize for efficiency and cost, but also for risk metrics, and that's why diversification of suppliers and geographic footprint is increasingly playing out. Just the semiconductor in the telecom industries, like 75% of exports are concentrated in just 5 regions. Thirdly, we talked about this yesterday, supply chain transparency is predicated completely on the availability of data across the supply chain. And what companies are doing now is to leverage this telemetry to be able to produce data that helps both shippers and customers. And we are seeing instances of a lot of companies employing cognitive logistics process automation tools on the back of machine learning algorithms to be able to look at the supply chain end to end and be able to take predictive decisions. We also talked about increased inventory. George just spoke about it. By definition, just in case, as opposed to just in time, means increased inventory and therefore increased working capital requirements. And companies are increasingly trying to build safety buffers in good times. As they say, it's always better to sweat in times of peace rather than bleed in war. And lastly, companies are also looking at rerouting transport and logistics, finding new avenues to bypass clogged lanes to be able to build that resilience. So with these areas of focus, how can finance be an enabler, right? So we talked about supplier relationships. Financial institutions now have programs that we've been running for a few years now, which help suppliers make early payments, right? Where the risk is predicated on a larger anchor or otherwise. And this is across both the pre-shipment and the post-shipment legs of the supply chain. So, for example, from the pre-shipment point of view, you have PO-based financing. On the post-shipment point of view, you have invoice discounting. You have a bunch of other sort of products. Of course, it's difficult to talk about all of them now, but I'll just touch the highlights. The other is increased inventory. Obviously, like I said, that means increased working capital. And what's increasingly happening is financial institutions are able to leverage the data footprint of companies to be able to quickly get quickly do underwriting on the company and be able to sort of figure out, is it a good or a bad credit? We'll talk about this in the use case just in the next slide. The third is, by definition, EXIM means, FX risk mitigation sort of structures automatically come into play, and there's an interesting FX aggregation use case which I want to talk about as well. Supply chain transparency, I think this is a fantastically interesting space. We talked about the ULIP yesterday and some of the data points that can come out. This lends itself to what is called cargo financing, where from the start, from the time the goods are stuffed into the container till the port of discharge, and after that, I'm able to track it and therefore be able to build financing solutions at every point in the chain. And financial institutions are being able to do that now. And lastly, the supply network and geographic footprint, like I was talking about, investments that companies are making, and insurance solutions that are specialized and take care of accidents and other contingencies, including supplier bankruptcy. So quickly, I want to just end with 2 use cases. The first one is an embedded financing model. Now, the reason I kept it fairly, open is that there are multiple sub-use cases that can come out of this, but let me give you what I'm sort of broadly trying to convey here. We talked about logistics and digital platforms yesterday. So if you look at this and think about this from the perspective of, let's say, a supplier like a ship liner on the one side, and when I talk of an SME, it's probably any of our logistics players on the other side, whether it's a freight forwarder or a custom broker. What this basically platform can do is, and most of the platforms already do, by the way, is the SMEs or the logistics players are able to request invoices, make payments for those freight services via the platform. And where financial institutions come in this is that at the point of checkout, which is why the whole embedded finance angle comes in, is at the point of checkout, financial institutions can now, basis various data points that you see on the box to the right, able to quickly underwrite the logistics player and throw up a contextual financing sort of line at the point of payment on the logistics aggregator platform. And this, the FI is able to do basis a bunch of digital sort of footprint data that we talked about yesterday. So we have GSTN, which is, we get data on the GST returns. We can get, the banking data now with the whole account aggregator platform that's gone live. I don't know how many of you are tracking it. Recently, we have 1 billion accounts live and 1 million accounts linked on the account aggregator platform. The bureau data, of course, and India Stack. Chairman Shinde yesterday talked about eKYC. That's one of the parts of the India Stack that we leverage to make KYC easier. So the point I'm trying to make is contextual financing model. Sometimes we joke, DBS, we call ourselves disappearing Bank of Singapore at sometimes, because what we are trying to do is to embed ourselves in certain in platforms, because customers, they don't wake up in the morning and say this is a good day to bank. They want to live their lives, and we want to be powering those transactions underlying the hood. So that's one use case. The second use case is again very topical from an FX solution standpoint. And this is a pain point where a lot of our logistics players, especially in times like these, in a tightening sort of interest rate scenario, and with exchange rates, where they are. So this talks about how an financial institution can provide aggregation services. So what this specifically does is that if a logistics player is paying a certain markup, for example, if you have a ship liner that's invoicing in foreign currency, and the logistics player needs to pay in INR, generally that invoice is marked up basis an exchange rate that the liner provides. But here, what we are saying is that if they come to some of these aggregation platforms that are already live, they can request for an invoice. That's the label on the top left. Request for invoice. The liner releases the invoice, and the financial institutions can provide a markup rate at a better rate than what is generally provided to them by the liner, and that the freight forwarder or the logistics player sees and can just pay in INR into a pooling account. So they don't have to go through the job of incurring that laborious processing charge, correspondent bank, none of those. They just pay in INR to a virtual account, a VA account. The financial institution cites that, is able to tell the platform that, hey, the money is received, and then the platform aggregates that funds and sends it to the liner in one shot. So everybody kind of wins in the process. So these are, I think, two use cases which, at least in my interactions with a lot of you, have resonated very well, and so I just wanted to talk about that. So I just want to end with saying that, just going back to this quote by Eisenhower, which a lot of you know, was a military officer in the US and also, I think, the 34th president, statesman. He said that you will not find it difficult to prove that in battles, campaigns, and even wars have been largely won or lost because of logistics. And that kind of sums up how important this sector is, and how important you are in turning the wheels of the economy. So with that, thank you so much, and Jai Hind.
Thanks, Harish. You are an amazing banker for sure. You finished exactly 1 minute before your allotted time. And definitely we will be inviting you for the next convention or in between. And you can reveal who is the beneficiary of your interest-free loan. We are all eager to know. I think you brought out very interesting aspect of financing and resilience because of financing in this sector. Because we run out of ideas. See, every couple of years we have to make presentation to our global customers, those of us who have global customers, on increased compliance and secondly cost reduction. So after 3-4 years, we actually run out of ideas what we can do for tax, cost reduction and all this. So what I have been focusing is on financial consolidation, partnership in that, and business continuity plan. So I think your inputs are very significant for that kind of partnership. Next speaker, Pramod, has been a good friend of mine for 40 years. Both of us started career together. Pramod built a very good career. He retired as Vice President of Siemens, in charge of supply chain, logistics. And he is a very good professional. And I think he has been to FFI at least 3 or 4 times, maybe 5th time, I don't recollect. But he is a frequent, from 2005, for last 17 years, he has been participating in FFI events. But above all, one of the reasons we like to call him and engage with him is because he is not shy to discuss with customs serious issues for trade facilitation and the impediments. And at times, customs has relied on his old statistics for mapping. So he is a very serious professional, and Pramod will present his perspectives on disruptions and resilient supply chain. Pramod, floor is yours.
So, good morning, everybody. So, it's really my privilege, and as Chandru mentioned, I'm here coming from 2005. But every time what I see is a new height of success for convention. And I was just looking last 2 days. I'm just referring around 650 people with varied experience. And I can count that total experience into shipping, logistics, supply chain put together in the room is around 25,000 years. I saw a person with 55 years experience, and I'm quite sure some of you here are more than that also experience. 25,000 years experience in this room, and we can do a wonder into supply chain, logistics, shipping. I'm quite sure, and this could be one of the event or this thing which could be really high across world also. I do not know whether any other convention will have more than 25,000 year experience. So it's a really honor to be here. My topic is overcoming disruption. If you would have seen since yesterday, every speaker, when he talked, this word has come, the disruption. And just now, Harish also shown some of the details on the disruption. So what is really the disruption is I think little disruption is affecting me. So this is how disruption affects. We saw many types of disruption, and the list is keep on adding. I just could attack the around 10 areas. We have seen natural disaster, earthquake, tsunami. We have seen cyber attacks, and yes, the shipping industry is much having affected that. Pandemic. There are some. Regularly, we are having transportation and other disruption. We have seen Suez Canal. Then strikes. Anytime some airline or their ground staff have strike in Europe, our supply chain really gets affected. Price fluctuations is also very disruption. We could not have thought that after 15 years we will have such a rate, whether it is with cartel, whether it is with whatever reason. But price fluctuation, whether it is in shipping, whether it is in product, they have the effect. Geopolitical situation. We have seen US-China trade war. We have seen Brexit. We have seen now Russia-Ukraine war, how it is affecting global. And it is touching human also. We are talking about the wheat shortages. 100 countries will going to have the tough time for food because of shortage. Technology. We have seen that technology, how it is disrupting. Our lives have already changed because of technology. Laws and regulations is a disruption. even though we advise or FFI, BCBA, such organization keep on giving inputs to government, one day they change something which creates a disruption, could be for some time, and it affects us. Then last is the products, new products coming, it's a disruption. So many such disruption happens. It is going to change our life. First, we thought that sometime in 90s, they coined the word called VUCA, and it became famous. Then we have seen the disruption word coming, then we have seen the Black Swan event coming. But today we are in combination of all. We are having this situation coming again and again. So what we need to do? Our topic is resilience, agility can open new opportunities. And how I have some practical example, and that is very different. Product failures. Everybody in manufacturing, they make products. They are given to customers. Customers depend on their quality. And if one product fails, the customer is upset. It comes back to manufacturer. Manufacturer has got a very difficult time because his quality product has failed. So there is a disruption in customer's end. Because of his disruption, our factories also get affected. So we have one example. One of the biggest electrical company, Tata Power, they are having our turbines. We are having at least around 70 years of association, and one turbine rotor failed. You cannot afford to have such failure. So our engineer went there, tried to repair it on site. It didn't happen. Then we told Tata Power, we have to take this, we have to stop everything, we have to get this turbine back, and we have to repair, and it will take a long time. Repairing time for this turbine is around 4 to 5 months. So it was never acceptable to customer. So what is to be done? So one, you are already affected. You are completely having disruption. So resilience comes into an agility comes. So what we innovated, we found, we located a rotor across the world in Siemens, very places where it was ready. And this around 12 tons we airlifted, brought to India, given it to customer, took out his old rotor which we need to repair, repaired that. So two things. One, very bad situation that some big product, main product fails, but we have to come with resilience, how we'll come out of that situation. Agility to take decision. In 8 hours time, we located where it is available, convince that. Then we have to find out the right logistics supplier, bring it in India. How to bring? Then we have a good collaboration network along with our custom broker. We found that there is no point in paying on the duty on this rotor because it has to go back after we repair old rotor. We bought it on lease. We made all documents. Rotor was landing on Sunday. You require a bank guarantee. You have to work out properly. So all that collaboration work, and we are able to find out things. So what we learn is the accept reality, accelerated decision. The cost of chartered flight could be very high, but we put that. Agility to take decision. Customer was happy. Customer found that, oh God, from across the world they are bringing it, and this thing. But how it helped for a future? We found that in India we have capability to repair the rotor across the globe. We are able to machine the rotor if other factories get loaded, and that became a new business for us. So this disruption became a new opportunity for business. We get the rotor from many places for repair in India. We do machining when some Czechoslovakian factory is overloaded. And this disruption has given us the excellent business. So if you, in disruption, if you are agile, you are ready to have a resilience, it will open a new opportunities. So this is one example I wanted to give. Another disruption is technology. If you see the customs, and yesterday also it was shown that in 1995 they started with digitization. However, if you see from 2016, their speed is drastically increased. And yesterday also, one of the speakers mentioned from E&Y that the government's digitization speed is far higher than the industry, and which is true. You can see the number of, and with every change in technology from government side, how we are affected, somewhere we are still getting affected. And yesterday also the DJ system person said that, yes, there are some issues which you are solving. So when there is a technology is changing, if you are able to see it in little early, how we are able to handle this disruption. So the second example is, if you are able to foresee, you can avoid or you can reduce the impact of disruption. This slide also gives, and it was told yesterday from a speaker from Kale, that there are 75 platforms. And you can see that, and every day you face with different platform. You go to shipping company, they have different, terminal has got different, customer has different, bank has different, customer forwarders have different platform. Then what we have found that it is very difficult for us to survive. And then there was also talk that we need to have one platform. So maybe on all India level, it will have difficulties. So what we thought that when there are so many platforms, so many changes happening, we need to develop something for technology so that we will overcome these issues. And we tried to make a platform. So if you look at, to handle all these different people, to bring what we called as, if I have to be resilient, if I have to have agility, I need to have transparency, then I need a right tool. And if I am little vigilant, then I am able to do. So we found the technology changing. We need to be along with technology or we little ahead of them. Then you need to create a vision, take a lead. Nobody is forcing you internally in organization or my stakeholder that you develop something. We have to take a lead. And we develop some tool which will give me end-to-end. It will help me into my giving inputs to government. I am able to give them policy inputs. I am able to handle the operation efficiently. I am able to do accounting properly. I have a KPI. All these things is happening on this tool. Also, one very important point. You said responsible logistics. And responsible logistics means before COVID, we were in such a situation that the paper which moves me and my forwarder or broker was only when if I am going to give him a stamp paper. Or today, the only paper which comes to me is a return of bond or bank guarantee which was given old. Otherwise, we do not have paper. All that thing. And we worked out. In COVID, when it all stopped, our stakeholders were having no interruption for 1 day because everything was on screen. There was no bills coming. There were no papers required. We calculated 35 million paper. Looking at our volume of 45,000 consignments, we have saved so much paper, environmental friendly, more accurate. So if you look at the technology, so 2 examples, you will get disturbed, but it can be opportunity. Second is that if you look ahead and apply technology, you will be better. So if you look at number 1 is that any time there is no solution, it's a journey. New disruptions will come, their speed will be different. We talked about average disruption 4 years, but if you look at last 2 years, we are having 3 to 4 disruptions. We were having COVID, we were having the container shortage, we were having semiconductor shortage, we were having freight rate problems, now we are having Ukraine war. So at a time, so things are changing. It is not one disruption. It is a many disruption coming together and affecting us. So one thing you have to accept that if you get this, because of disruption, you need to accept that. You need to stabilize, very important. First thing is that how I can survive and how I will be able to keep my supply chain running, you need to stabilize. Rights team, yesterday, excellent session on skill development. Education area is also disrupted. Our children's, our people, they were learning from home. Schools were from home. Attendance was taken, students sitting in home and teacher taking attendance and teaching them. So you require a right team and excellent way how to make your team. The right fit is important, not a size. Collaboration with stakeholder. Both my examples are very important. In disruption, you need a collaboration. I need people who will understand, and right collaboration with them always make you success. So whether it is custom broker, forwarder, or with government, I think collaboration is a thing. It will give win-win to all. everything will be happy. In digitization case, you will find that there is no need to print paper, so a lot of saving is there for everybody. And anything you do, keep people, environment, and sustainability into mind. It's very important when you deal with disruption. So you will have hundreds. One is that there is no one solution. You will have hundreds of ideas coming, new ideas will get, and this sheet will get updated and updated. I like the first, take a leap, you think, and you take a jump into disruption because you may not be knowing something. We have seen resilience and agility. Resilience and agility is two sides of coin. You will not be successful only if you are resilient, but if you are not agile. So it's very important, and take the lead. So disruption, action points, they are not static. They will keep on increasing. You will learn from each disruption, and we will have a definitely much better future. So summary, disruptions are not new, frequency changing. You can learn, prepare, something you cannot avoid. You require a new mindset. There is no common solution. Action will depend on type of disruption. And in cases there are not many solutions available, disruption can be opportunity. I think I wanted to close this my session that disruptions is opportunity and we should work on that. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Pramod. It was exactly 15 minutes, not a second less, not a second more. That's a precise timing. I think the example of router was fabulous, and that reminds me of one example and one idea for collaboration. One of my customer used to supply, continues to supply, is the biggest one in the world now, pumps for oil fields. And they started a new business model, like you told about router, to repair pumps of other manufacturers. And that became a big business because oil fields are time sensitive. You can't stop oil field, the losses are in millions. I thought it will give me a lot of new business because they would be exchanging. To the contrary, whole business we had about this movement stopped because they had started using 3D printers. So maybe it's a disruption we have that a big part of business is stopped, but together all of us in network, instead of making customers install 3D printers, we all collaborate and have I would say a big network of 3D printers with cloud technology, and each of us share this facility. But these are disruptions we are seeing and we should be aware of it. Next speaker is Sharmila, and Sharmila is expert and famous in our industry for projects. Her thinking is like project management, and she wants to start with a game, and you will present a game, isn't it? Okay. But if we are not ready, I think we can skip. Yeah, please go ahead. Because we have started a bit late, still we will conclude in time. So please go ahead, Sharmila. Floor is yours.
Good morning, my fellow professionals in the logistics industry. And as Pramod says, I had a little game for everybody, but I think I had requested Sudhirji that you give me some pens for it, and I don't think they were on the table, so I don't think we can play it. So I keep all the 3 prizes which I got for myself. So quickly. My topic is global supply chain in the world. I started with an Indian company. I'm now with a global company, and I've come back the whole circle. And what does global supply chain actually mean? It means that we're finding solution globally for everybody. I don't want to talk much about things, but I'll just give my examples of what has happened in the actual global supply chain with us as an organization and how it is working in India. So just before the pandemic started, about 6 months before that, the world's largest logistics project that was going on in the world happened to be in India. The contract value would have estimated only the logistics cost was close to about 360 crores. And we had to partner with an Indian company because it was a Government of India project which did not permit a multinational to be the lead service provider. We bid for the job. When we looked at the tender, just in hindsight, when we were sitting, I said, somebody please add plus 45% and quote. So all my Indian colleagues and everybody looked at me and said, are you crazy? What are you talking about it? And nobody listened to me. Instead of going plus, we went minus. Out of 35 companies that bidded for this job, we were the only one technically qualified, and the prize bid was opened, and we won the job. By the time we did this, the shipping line rates had gone not 100%, but close to 500% higher than what job was quoted. We went back to the client, and we actually refused. We actually said, we cannot take this job. We learned to say no. And that is something which is very rare. I don't think, except what Pramodji once always continues to mention, that it is only the customs clearance that people say that, yes, we will do it. But we now in the freight forwarding have learned to say no. We actually said no to them, and they were in for a shock. They told us, please continue. You'll probably have a loss for the first 2 shipments. And we calculated, and we even told them, sir, the first 2 shipments loss would be close to 80 crores. They refused to accept it. They refused to believe it. They threatened us with all possible consequences of being blacklisted in the country, and we still were adamant, and we said no. What happened after that? Within 15 days, or his so-called 2 months that he mentioned, we had the Ukraine war starting, the Ukraine-Russia war. Now, this happens to be a nuclear power project where all our nuclear power plants only come from Russia. Now, you can imagine what happened. We are a German company. Sanctions are against us. We cannot lift the cargo. We told them an idea what to do. Please break up the shipments and handle it shipment to shipment. Today, the project is at a complete standstill. They are not even moving the cargo shipment to shipment. They have come back to ask us, can you find us an Indian flag vessel to move this cargo? So even if we say global supply chain, being a German company, we still are collaborating and working, trying to do these things with India. So that was one of the biggest example and learnings for us to say that even in times where you cannot do things, please learn to say no. That was one of it. The second thing that came to us, and being a project company, was our office asked us that we have a call from United Nations. Can you please go and meet the representative in India? And we said, United Nations, yeah, maybe it was something big we have to move for them in this country, so we went to meet them. When I went to meet the gentleman, he said, you know, we need to move face masks being produced in India to USA. Honestly, if you ask me, I really wouldn't know how to move less than 5 grams of a face mask, because that's not what I did for 30 years of my life. So I sat with him and I actually told him that I'm being honest with you. I really don't know how to do it. I do realize, being a global company, that we have this order to move this for you to America, but I have to seek partners in this country. And I must say, I have friends like Chaitali from Express who really have been a backbone support for us, the global company collaborating with the Indian company on how to find a solution to move these masks out of India. And I must tell you, we moved close to 10 million masks for United Nations to America, and they absolutely, we have a letter from, I think that time Trump was in power, with thanking India to move these masks from India for USA. So I can tell you, as a global company, we had these 2 kinds of absolutely fabulous things that we collaborated for and we can share with. For me personally, I feel that there have been so many challenges for me. This is the 5th company, global company, that I am restructuring in this country. And I don't know how many more I have to go still to do or continue doing this for everybody. So if you ask me, what is success? For me, it's a challenge. Every challenge, the bigger it gets, the better it gets, I become more successful with it. And that's what I would tell everybody. Take up challenges, as many as you can, and this is how you will grow, and that's my mantra for success. You know, we are like the magician, the source of control and creation, where no matter life brings you to, your destiny can never be changed or denied by any of us. So personally for me, I have lots and lots of stories like this to tell you, but I would like to talk one about the one we did here in Chennai itself for the Hyundai car plant. We moved this car plant from Canada to Sri Perumbudur in 1996, 97. And when we were dismantling this plant in Canada and loading it to bring it to India, we looked at the size and we told them, you know, this port cannot take this kind of cargo, really, whatever you want to do. We have to think of how we are going to handle such a big plant in the port of Chennai. We came to meet the port chairman, and he said, I have really no space, absolutely no space to put 45,000 freight tons of your cargo. I'm telling you, please don't bring this here. And we had no choice because we had chartered the full vessel. We actually got the cargo here. The whole port, literally even the coal berth, was full of this cargo. And he threw my ship out after offloading 20,000 tons. The only thing that a global company actually does is these Koreans would have me every Friday, 6 months before I bought this plant. Every Friday I had to be in Chennai to tell them how I would do this job. Every single Friday I was here. Because there were 110-ton packages, 140-ton packages, and there were bridges coming right out of your port with a railway siding. And they had these huge mics, and when the ship came, there were these old Koreans on the floor standing. All the planning in the world that we did for 6 months went out of the window, completely out of the window. So as I said, my first slide, can you just show me my first slide, what I said? Not this one, the next one. And this is what we had to do. Even though we had everything planned, we always had to think out of the box. Really think out of the box. He threw my ship out, and I had to wait. We actually moved the cargo in the night. Next day, after 10 days, he allowed us to come back. And today, the whole Hyundai car plant is standing where it is standing. So we always thought what we would do, how we would do. We were literally loading cargo the whole night and not in the daytime. So projects for us is some completely different. Every project is different. Even though we think, we plan, and as George said, asset heavy, asset light models. We are all asset light models, and all our partners have been a global company, have been Indian companies, and our success has been all our partners in India locally whom we work with. So thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to be talking to all of you. It's been an honor. Thank you, Shankarji, for especially inviting me to be a speaker here, and even Mr. Dushyant. Thank you, Shantanu, for choosing me to be your colleague on this, and I'm not angry with you. From 10 days, he's been telling me, please don't be angry with me. Please, sir. Really, I'm not angry with you. I'm only thankful to you. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Sharmila. It was a fabulous delivery. We all learn more from failures than we learn from success. So it takes courage to share failures. So thanks for it. Another clarity, we don't promote any company in FFI convention. We had specifically asked her to share how global companies think so that we get some idea about how global company thinks firsthand. We read about it, but a person sharing firsthand, we had asked us. So good. We have a great learning about failures and thinking out of box also, good example. Sorry, we didn't have a game, but 3 gifts you have brought. We will give to our 3 panelists and we will celebrate them as a victory, but at the end of the session. So Amit, floor is yours if we have Q&A, if your question answers are ready. And in the meantime, I think we can run the FFI clip. If our FFI, FIATA clip, not FFI, I think if FIATA clip, IFCB.
So before...
No, my brief was FIATA clip, but we can go ahead.
Yeah. We have a pre-recorded video, so I would request every ladies and gentlemen, please make an attention. Can we have the AV, please? Thank you.
It's wonderful to be with you today. I only regret that our conversation is virtual and not in person. Having attended a previous FFFAI convention, I know what energy and ideas come together for this biennial convention in Chennai. Your theme is inspiring. Reshape, embrace, and surge in the digital era. Since joining the IFCBA, your organization has always played a leading role with knowledgeable and committed directors at our board table, beginning with the late Lieutenant Commander Srinivasan. We now have executive engagement as part of our managing director team with Shankar Shinde, and leadership from our former chairman, Shantanu Badkamkar, with a significant presence within the IFCA and at the World Customs Organization, including participation at the WCO's private sector consultative group. I want to speak today about some of the current challenges and best practices of customs and border management. I believe that at the heart of this conversation is the value of the customs broker. It all comes down to the fact that what you do is important. It's important in helping importers and exporters comply with complex requirements. It's important to trade facilitation and national prosperity and competitiveness. It's based in knowledge. It's central to your individual professional pride and commitment to excellence. And in this context, India has a long and very proud tradition. We call the IFCBA the World Customs Brokers Association, and we have an especially close relationship with the World Customs Organization. We have observer status, a memorandum of understanding, and we've been a member of the WCO's private sector consultative group since it was founded. Perhaps the most important lesson from a business perspective was to encourage customs administrations to keep what worked and not automatically revert back to processes that were in place pre-pandemic. Your conference theme is action-oriented and enthusiastic. You can be too. Thank you for your sustained support of IFCBA over decades. I encourage you to take advantage of your IFCBA membership and business relationships to share information, ask questions, learn, and grow as you move forward. On behalf of all customs brokers in all IFCBA member countries, I wish you well at this wonderful conference.
Thank you, Shantanu. For the audience, before I begin to sum up, we have this FFI app, and you could actually ask questions to the speakers through the app by going into the agenda, and you would selecting the session and the speaker, and you could ask questions. The questions would be moderated by the session chairman, and if he accepts it, it will show up on the screen. This is just for the information. Thank you, Shantanu. We had a wonderful session today with excellent speakers. The first being George Abrao, who spoke about asset-based models. George shared his personal experience, how they've moved from light range into stevedoring, then containers, barges, and so on. George defined asset and how different elements can be your asset depending on the situation and how you can use them strategically. He has also explained a hybrid asset model. That is first lease, and then as you go along, you can, based on your experience, you can decide to buy it, and the opportunity is immense. So a vast topic, but he could manage to compile it within the given slot. Thank you very much, George, for that. Then Mr. Harish Shashidhar, he explained about financial implications about supply chain disruptions, the frequency of supply chain disruptions, and the percentage of loss of profit. He also spoke about the causes of supply chain disruptions and what companies are doing in response to this supply chain disruptions. And how can enabler be embedded in this? How can financial models be embedded to become an enabler for this, countering this supply chain disruption? Thank you, Mr. Shashidhar, for your insightful address. Dr. Pramod San, he has spoken about overcoming disruption, the reasons for this disruption, and how resilience in taking decisions and quick actions agility in actions can open new opportunities, and how disruptions are opportunities in disguise. He has spoken about accepting realities, taking accelerated decisions, agility, and how it leads to customer delight and future business, and how technology today is a tool, though a disruption, but it is also a tool. Accepting technology, adopting technology can be a tool to countering disruption, and how we need to have a vision and take lead. Thank you, Dr. Pramod Sen. Dr. Sharmila Amin, she has spoken about global supply chain and shared her personal experiences in handling cargo and how the disruptions have been caused in the global supply chain. Thank you, Dr. Amin. Shantanu has moderated and chaired this session and moderated excellently by explaining new ideas. Thank you, Shantanu, for moderating the session. We are ready to take a few questions to the speakers. So
I think, Amit, let people keep their questions ready in between. Chairman has asked me to give background of IFCBA. FFAI is a unique organization in the whole world where we have very focused local presence through our member association. We deal with every small local issue. FFAI itself is a national body as a federation. We deal with national policy issues. But equally, FFAI participates in international forums, which is FIATA and IFCBA. And this international presence gives us opportunity to participate actively in World Customs Organization. IFCBA has partnered with World Bank. We have been part of UNCITRAL, UNCTAD. We have been invited in many countries to address, and FFAI members have been very integral part, and currently Shankar Shinde, our chairman, is the managing director, which is like a vice president of IFCBA. So we are playing role locally, nationally, and globally. I think that's the significance of IFCBA and FIATA for FFAI. And IFCBA is a very focused organization. One thing I thought that being proud as a custom broker was unique to India. But being part of IFCBA, I realized the Chinese, the Koreans, the Japanese, and even more, the Americans and the Canadians are even more proud. They are fiercely proud and they are fiercely territorial. Europe is different, but custom brokers in these countries are extremely territorial. So I think we are in a very proud body to add professional pride to us as custom brokers. So that's the background, Shankar. You want to add something, or that's good enough? I think if we have questions, we can move ahead. Otherwise, we have a next program of honoring our partner associations who have been always supporting FFAI during the convention and between the convention even more, so that we have a common ground and common platform. Are there any two quick questions? Please avoid observations and stick to questions. Can't see any hand. Yeah, Vipin. Mike.
Yeah, my name is Vipin Vora from Continental. I have a question to Mr. Harsh. This is regarding the freight forwarders. Who you mentioned that they can get credit from the banks and other people. Now, when we talk about labor terms, on the foreign exchange earnings, all these exporters who earn foreign exchange, they get, loan on labor terms. Whereas we as freight forwarders, if we want to go, we also earn a lot of foreign exchange. But if we go to the bank, we were asked certain questions, where is the order? What is the, on which you have to get the foreign exchange loans, and all those things. Is there any way where our freight forwarding community can be treated like an exporter who can get, who earn also foreign exchange, and they should be allowed to get like packing credit and other things on the labor terms? That's what my question is.
Thank you. You're right. So far, I think it's the export community that's largely been sort of been able to leverage that. But I think what's happening of late is that those models are changing. I did sort of touch upon some of the emerging use cases about being able to provide for logistics players in particular short-term working capital finance, right? And that's not necessarily predicated on the earlier models of being able to show a certain collateral, track record. So I think we are moving to a model where at least financial institutions are now open to the idea of being able to use cash flow as a proxy to be able to sort of advance credit at terms that are obviously more palatable. And this whole notion of being able to move away from physical collateral to information collateral is something that's catching on, which I think is beneficial to industries, particularly the logistics industry, where one can really leverage on the transaction data of these logistics players to provide finance. So I think it's changing. Yes, you're right. That's not been the notion so far, but what I have seen is that's changing, and like I've sort of just mentioned one of the use cases that we could sort of look at. Yeah.
Thank you, Harish. I think we'll have less time. So we will move on to the next question if there is any. Yeah, Om.
Good morning. My name is Om Prakash Agrawal, and my question is towards TBS representative Mr. Harish. For logistics, we are finding one challenge while dealing with the banks, and that is regarding like you have an EFC account, you get payment from your foreign agents in dollar, and when you want to make this payment in US dollar to the local shipping line, the banks are not permitting. Only I am aware of only one bank which is permitting. So if one bank is permitting, it means it should be allowed by all banks, but that is not happening. So can you please, thank you.
Thank you for the question. I think this is a question that we've been asked, I think increasingly in the last few months particularly. Maybe I can explain the solution to you that we are working on, specifically the FX solution, the aggregation piece. Maybe I can sort of take that offline. But what I can tell you is we have also worked with the regulator to be able to figure out this particular need. We have gone to the RBI specifically for this structure and got certain clearances for that. So I can probably take you through what we've sort of tried to figure out as a possible solution to this, but completely appreciate what you're saying. And I think we can take that offline. Yeah.
Harish, probably many may have this issue. If you can give one para or half a page, we'll circulate to our members, or at least participants for sure. Any last question, small question, or we move on to the... Yeah, move on. I think we have to felicitate the sponsor, and we have to felicitate our associations and the fellow panelists. Can we be quick in felicitations? I would request all the association representatives also to be ready and our tea sponsor to be ready.
Thank you so much, sir. I hope the session really went on well. Thank you all. Can we give the round of applause to the dignitaries and to the chairman? Thank you. I would request Shankar Shinde and A.V. Vijay Kumar to present a memento to Mr. Shantanu as our appreciation. So please give a big round of applause. Ladies and gentlemen, can we join your hands together, please? Thank you. Thank you so much. I would request Mr. Shantanu to present a memento to Mr. George Abrao, Chairman, Abrao Group. Please welcome forward. I would request Mr. Shankar Shinde and A.V. Vijay Kumar to acknowledge them. Thank you so much. And once again, I request Mr. Shantanu to present a memento to Mr. Harish Shashidhar, Senior Vice President, Strategic Partnership and New Initiatives, DBS Bank. Thank you, sir, for your valuable time. And now I would request Mr. Shantanu to present a memento to Dr. Pramod Sen, industry expert. Dr. Pramod Sant, industry expert. As our token of appreciation, once again, I repeat, I would request Mr. Shantanu to present a memento to Dr. Sharmila Amin, Managing Director, South Asia India, Bertling Logistics India Private Limited. Thank you. Can we have a group picture once again with, I would request Shankar Shinde and A.V. Vijay Kumar to stay back on stage. Thank you for the wonderful session. And I would request Mr. Shankar Shinde and Vijay Kumar to acknowledge the presence of our other logistic associations. Please stay back on stage, sir. I would like to welcome NACFS onto the stage, Mr. Pramod Srivatsan, President NACFS. Please welcome forward, sir.
I would request Mr. Xerxes Master, President of MTOI, to join us on the stage. I would request Madam Nadia Abdul Aziz, President of National Association of Freight and Logistics, United Arab Emirates, to please join us on the dais. Nadia is not here, so we have Mr. Ahmed, who is the Vice President of National Association in Freight and Logistics. Welcome, sir. I request Mr. O.P. Gupta of Consolidators Associations in India, CAI, to please join us on the dais.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
In fact, I would like to take this opportunity. It's the first time in the history of convention of FFEI we have all the trade associations on this platform. A big round of applause for them. Thank you for being here with us. And this is what we are looking forward for, integrating with each other's, getting together. Let's collaborate and work towards the betterment of the fraternity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. And now it's time for us to honor our sponsors. And today's first session sponsored by Air India Such Airport Service Private Limited. To give the memento, I would like to welcome Mr. Dinesh Gupta, President, Mundra Customs Broker Association. Sir, please welcome onto the stage. We would request Air India Thank you. And the tea session sponsored by Master Marine Services Limited. I would like to call upon Mr. Shashil Machado, President Tuticorin Customs Broker Association, to come onto the stage to present the memento. Yesterday, the raffle sponsor, we couldn't invite them because they were not available. But now we would like to call up them on stage. Balma Lorry, please welcome onto the stage. Yesterday, raffle sponsor. Can we give them a round of applause and invite them to the stage? And next we would like to welcome Cordelia Container Shipping Limited. Please welcome. Cordelia Shipping, please welcome onto the stage.
अनाउंस करते हैं अफजल माल अखा इथं प्रेसिडेंट आहे तो प्रेसिडेंट आहे अखा इथं प्रेसिडेंट आहे प्रेसिडेंट नाही I would request our chairman, Mr. Shankar Shinde, and chairman-elect Mr. Dushyant Mulani to kindly felicitate Mr. Afzal Malbariwala, President of ACAI. Mr. Afzal Malbariwala is not here, I think. Is here? कौन है? I would request Yashpal Sharma, President of ACFI, to please come on the dais. I would request our chairman, Mr. Shankar Shinde, and chairman-elect, Mr. Dushyant Mulani, to kindly felicitate him. Mr. Yashpal Sharma. Yeah, he's biodata. Yeah.
Radhakrishnan sir is here. Radhakrishnan sir is here.